Hello, everyone. My name is Bethany Ramos, and here is the design for a wireless network of a hospital. The scope of this project is to design and propose a wireless network that meets the requirements that the Chief Information Officer of the hospital would like to implement. The hospital is looking for a network design that would allow this transitioning, such as allowing wireless IP phones and barcode scanners. The goal of is to focus on patient care and the work environment and its efficiency. The objectives of the network, the intended users are doctors, nurses, patients, and medical equipment. Doctors should have the intent to use the wireless IP phones to receive calls or messages to an emergency or whether they're on call duty. The nurses would have the intent to use the barcode scanners to retrieve patients' medical information or records as such, along with alarms that goes off with anything such as updated information that could be done by another nurse or doctor. Uh, Patients and or clients should have the ability to connect to the guest Wi-Fi network within the hospital area or building. It cannot surpass the parking lot or even further than that because it would just create security risks. And medical equipment should be work efficient and should be able to avoid any interference or signal as such. Um, if we were to assume any designs upon the current system, we could face the current wireless network to have outdated services or equipment, which can lead to uh, vulnerabilities. We could assume that the cabling or ports are broken or turned out or turned down due to the inconsistency of following physical security protocols or measures. Since the hospital is running on a proprietary standard, we would have to start fresh uh, in order to follow the 802.11 standard wireless network. So we would basically have to purchase new equipment and system. As far as equipment, a wireless network would consist of routers, switches, access points, wireless IP phones, IP desk phones, workstations, barcode scanners, wireless control, and etc. medical equipment. Upon budget, since we are transitioning from an old standard to a completely new standard, uh, I believe the cost would be very high, maybe in the millions, since we are basically starting all over again. The network analysis, the data sources that would be involved into this network, there is cloud storage, IP phone services, and the accessibility to be creative with files, emails, and calendars. So the cloud storage has to be HIPAA compliant since we are dealing with patient health records, personal information, financial information, and if we would like to implement cloud storage, we would have to associate with the business associates agreement, which is required. There is IP phone services, excuse me, such as VoIP providers. In this case, I have seen Vonage, which could be a possible candidate for this services. There's also accessibility to creating, sending, and receiving files, emails, and calendars. In this case, we could use Microsoft Office 365 or OneDrive since it does follow HIPAA compliancy. The number of users, since it is a hospital environment, we are expected to look at a larger facility, and we can state that there are at least 1,000 users working in this hospital. Speed requirements, configuration upon access points are to be avoiding any overlapping channels or any signal interference or dropped calls. There is a single site architecture that does apply to the speeding, in which it covers like 30,000 lines or less, which is great due to our circumstances. Load variation estimates, since equipment is running all day and all night, 24/7, uh, one should be considerate of the range of load that can be presented, uh, such as IP phones that can present up to 100 kbps, and going far along to B 2 mpbs, um, such as servers, cloud, and application. All of this just leads up to 2,480 mbps. Quality of service requirements. There is applications such as RSL Cerner that allows and ensures nurses to retrieve patients' information through a simple barcode scan, excuse me, along with messaging, voice calls, and any other application that involves with staff management. It is important to ensure of this since we are dealing with treating patients accordingly for their health. There's others such as auditing, monitoring incoming and outgoing traffic with open VAS. There is wireless IP phones consisting of TSPEC, distributed channel access, Wi-Fi multimedia. Barcode scanners consist with anti-loss tools such as it can detect whether it is going out of range. Communication, they are being monitored and secured through advanced decryption system. Moving along to the security requirements, there are security threats that could be presented with this network, such as word driving, denial of service, road access points, access management protocol exploitation, signal interference, energy jamming, carrier sense exploitation, phishing, social engineering. And one can secure or avoid or reduce the risk of such threats is to implement security awareness training for all employees to be going through mandatory to ensure that all employees are following protocols and security measures as such. There is encryption, and the best ones that I have seen is the advanced encryption system, the triple data encryption, and Wi-Fi protected access. There is also monitoring and auditing activity. Open VAS is a vulnerability scanner that can monitor any vulnerabilities or just find any open ports that shouldn't be open. And there's also logging activity. In this case, one has to ensure that there wants to ensure that the logging does not consist of any suspicious activity. It cannot just be done on its own. Authentication. There is multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. This is just to ensure that the person that's trying to sign in or log into something is the right person that has the need to know basis. There is virtual private network, VPN. Basically, it controls the traffic to a limit so it doesn't overflow or interfere with anything or disrupt any services. There is access control list, which basically controls the privileged access, such as the need to know bases and preventing people from changing any permissions or further configurations. And firewall prevents unauthorized access or prevents security gaps. At this hospital, there are federal guidelines that needs to be followed. There is the health insurance portability and accountability, such as HIPAA, which is a pretty big one. This one goes under the administrative, which can focus on risk management, or risk assessments. Technical follows under the access control list, privileges, and the physical covers more on the physical security, such as workstations, appearance, or implementing security on the servers. Occupational Safety and Health Administration focuses more on the workplace environment and how employees should be addressing any type of situation or risk that may go on. Protect health information, that's basically focuses on the protecting the transfer of personal information, such as a person requesting to receive medical information from another facility. It needs approval from that patient. Payment card industry, that is focusing on protection of the cardholder information. This just to ensure that the hospital should be following security measures and practices to protect and store the cardholder information, such as credit cards, debit cards, bank accounts, and social security as such. Here are the potential network designs. There is the private and the public. The private consists of within the hospital, such as accessing servers, routers, switches, barcode scanners, IP phones, access points, wireless controller, workstations, and medical equipment. As you can see, I've separated medical equipment from the rest of the network just as a little sample, only because I would like for the medical equipment to have its own thing and avoid any interference that could go on between, IP phones or access points. The public guest Wi-Fi network, it just basically just consists of a firewall, a router, with additional security measures, and the end user could connect the Wi-Fi to their smartphones, tablets, laptops, and it would have Wi-Fi extenders since it is a pretty big area. However, they could not connect to this network outside of the building. Upon the cost analysis, we came up to 3,182,353. As mentioned before, the budget was stated that it would reach to the high millions. In this case, it did. However, this is just only the network equipment. I could not mention the medical equipment as there was not enough information to disclose that. So just keep in mind that this is just the basic. It would be way much higher if we would added the medical equipment, which it would still be in the high millions or even more. For network testing tools, before implementation, we can perform site surveys, which can be best when predicting best coverage, implement where we can for to have its best work efficiency. We could also identify any rogue points, radio frequency trouble, or any dead spots. There is also signal coverage that ensures that all applications are operable and work efficient for the employees and clients. Performance testing that just ensures that each application and individual devices are up to standard, and we test this by an end user perspective. In motion testing, that just analyzes the end user's devices when roaming around the hospital, just to see if it does have any connectivity issues at any point in time, such as any drop calls or dead spots. There is security testing as well that just basically ensures that the security configurations are up to standard. And if we would want to test that the configurations are up to standard, we would use such as vulnerability scanners, like I said, open a VAS, or penetration testing, or ethical hackers for this case. And that is it. Thank you.